Good morning, students. Today we are going to start with the second part of chapter number 5, that is cell organelles. Now, there are basically 6 types of cell organelles which are present in all the eukaryotic cells. The number 1 is endoplasmic reticulum, then Golgi apparatus, then lysosomes, then mitochondria, then plastids, and then vacuoles. We are going to study all these organelles in detail. As we have discussed in the previous class, what are the cell organelles? Just as our body, our human body has various organs which performs various functions. Similarly, each and every cell has various organelles which perform specific functions and completes a specific task. So first of all, we are going to start the endoplasmic reticulum. Now, what is endoplasmic reticulum or ER? It is a large network of membrane-bound tubes and sheets. It means a large number of tubular structures and sheet-like structures are present in the cytoplasm, and these tubes and sheets are covered by a membrane which is called the endoplasmic reticulum membrane or the ER membrane. It extends throughout the cytoplasm. It means it is spread into the whole cytoplasm from one end to the other end. ER membrane is similar to the plasma membrane. It means it is the structure of the ER or endoplasmic reticulum membrane is very much similar to the plasma membrane. Now this ER is of two types, rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The rough endoplasmic reticulum is also known as RER, whereas the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is known as SCR. Now, what is the main function of endoplasmic reticulum? Though it performs various functions, the first and the foremost function is it serves as the channel for the transport of material between various regions of the cytoplasm or between the cytoplasm and the nucleus. As we have discussed earlier, that it is a huge network of channels, tube-like and sheet-like structures which are spread into the cytoplasm. So what does it do? It transports the material from one end to the other end of the cytoplasm, and also from the cytoplasm to the nucleus and nucleus to the cytoplasm. Now functions as a cytoplasmic framework because it is spread into the whole cytoplasm. So it works or functions like a framework, a frame like structure which provides surface for various biochemical activities. It is a structure where various biochemical activities are performed. What do you mean by biochemical activities? It means many reactions takes place over there. Bio means those reactions which include the living organisms, and chemical means some chemical changes happen over there. For example, the synthesis of protein takes place on the endoplasmic reticulum. Also, the lipids and fats are also synthesized on the endoplasmic reticulum. Then the last function is detoxification of many poisons and drugs. Now here you can look at the difference between SCR and RER very clearly. Now if we study the SCR first, it is free of ribosomes. Smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The name itself says that this endoplasmic reticulum looks very smooth because it is free of ribosomes. No ribosomes or small structures are present on the surface of the SCR. Whereas RER, it has ribosomes on its surface. That is why the RER looks rough. Why? Because some ribosomes are present on its surface. You can see over here in the diagram, these SCR, smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they are having a very smooth surface because there are no ribosomes on their outer membrane. Whereas on RER, rough endoplasmic reticulum, small dot-like structures which are called ribosomes are present on their surface. That is why they look rough in the structure. Second difference is it is specialized to synthesize lipids. Lipids are produced or manufactured on the surface of the SCR, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Whereas what is the main function of RER? It is specialized to synthesize the proteins. And the last one, SCR mainly consists of tubules and vesicles. What is the structure of SCR? It is mainly in the form of long tubules and vesicles. Whereas RER is mainly in the form of cisternae. Cisternae are these layer-like structures which are present one over the other. Now the proteins and lipids which are synthesized here, where on the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, that is SCR and RER, they help in the formation or building of the cell membrane. As we have studied earlier, cell membrane is made up of proteins and lipids. So these proteins and lipids come from here, that is endoplasmic reticulum. Then some proteins and lipids also function as enzymes and hormones. So this is all about endoplasmic reticulum. Now comes the another very important cell organelle, that is Golgi apparatus. It was discovered by Camillo Golgi. It consists of a system of membrane-bound vesicles arranged parallel to each other in stacks, which are called cisternae. As you can look over here in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, these are cisternae. So Golgi apparatus also looks somewhat like this, but the ribosomes are not present on its surface. Now, what is the main function of Golgi apparatus? It is involved in the formation of lysosomes. Now you will study about lysosomes in the further topic, but the main these lysosomes are formed by the Golgi bodies. Now, the material synthesized near endoplasmic reticulum is packaged and dispatched to various targets inside and outside the cell through Golgi apparatus. What is the second function of Golgi bodies? The material which is synthesized near endoplasmic reticulum. What material was synthesized over here? Proteins and lipids. So these proteins and lipids, they are packed and then dispatched to various targets inside and outside the cell through the Golgi apparatus. So this is the second function of Golgi apparatus. We can also call them Golgi bodies. And third one is it does storage, modification and packaging of products in vesicles. What does it do? Whatever material has to be packed, it packs them, stores them, modifies them in the form of small bags which are called vesicles. Now the next organelle which we are going to study about is lysosomes. Now lysosomes are small bag-like structures which contain various powerful digestive enzymes. It is the waste disposal system of the cell. It keeps the cell clean by digesting any foreign material as well as the worn out cell organelles. Then it contains powerful digestive enzymes which break down the organic material. What happens? Whatever organic material or the waste material which is present inside the cell is digested by these powerful enzymes, and these enzymes are stored in small bag-like structures which are called lysosomes. So it helps in cleaning the cell by digesting the foreign material, and that is why it is called the waste disposal system of the cell. When the cell gets damaged, lysosomes may break open and enzyme digest their own cell. Sometimes what happens when the cell gets damaged or it starts functioning in an abnormal way or it becomes useless, at that time what happens, the lysosomes, they break open or they burst open and they release the powerful digestive enzymes into the cytoplasm, and these powerful digestive enzymes, they digest their own cell organelles and their own cell, and that is why they are also known as the suicide bag of the cell. Then comes the most important cell organelle, that is called the mitochondria. Just as your house or your office or school runs on electricity, the powerhouse of the cell is mitochondria. It is that organelle where the energy is produced. Now here the energy required for all the cell chemical activities occurring in the cell is released here in the mitochondria, and this energy is released in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. Now what is ATP? ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Now this mitochondria, it has two membrane. It is double membrane. It is covered by two membrane. The outer membrane is very porous and the inner membrane is very deeply folded. Now you can understand this with the help of a diagram. Let us understand the structure of mitochondria by this diagram. Mitochondria has two membranes. On it, the outer one is called outer membrane, which is quite porous. It has pores on it. The inner membrane is quite folded. It is folded like this. Highly folded. Somewhat like this. So this is the structure of mitochondria. This one is the outer membrane. This one is the inner membrane. And all the energy which is required by a cell is produced on this inner membrane. So this is a very unique feature of mitochondria, that mitochondria are able to make their own proteins as they have their own DNA and ribosomes. Now comes your next organelle, that is plastids. Now plastids are present only in the plant cell. There are of two types, chromoplast and leucoplast. Chromoplast means those plastids which are colored, and leucoplast are those plastids which are colorless. Now the color of the plastids can be any orange, green, yellow, red, whatever. Now those chromoplasts which have green colored pigment in them, which is also known as chlorophyll, they are called chloroplast. And you know these chloroplast or chlorophyll, where it is present? In the green part of the plants, that is leaves, green stems and all. Then leucoplast, what is the function of these colorless plastid? You might have understood that the function of colored plastid is to provide color to the part of the plant. For example, if a plant has yellow color flowers, then its petal will be having which plastid? Yellow colored chromoplast or plastids. Then what is the function of these colorless plastids? These colorless plastids, they store oil, starch, protein and other granules. It contains membrane layers embedded in a material called stroma. Now, it means that the structure of the plastid is just like membrane, various membranous layers which are embedded in a material which is called stroma. Its structure is similar to the mitochondria and also has its own DNA and ribosomes. So very unique feature of mitochondria and plastid is they have their own DNA, they have their own ribosomes, so they can synthesize their own proteins. And second is they are double layered structures. Then comes the last cell organelle, that is the vacuoles. Now vacuoles are very simple organelles. These are bag or sac like structures. They are also called the storage sacs. And what do they store? They store solid or liquid content. In animals, various small size vacuoles are present, whereas in plants generally one vacuole which is very large in size is present in the center. In plant cells, the vacuole are full of cell sap and provide turgidity and rigidity to the cell. What does it mean? Vacuoles are full of cell sap. A liquid is present inside the vacuoles, and with this provides turgidity. It means it keeps the shape of the cell intact and makes the cell rigid. And it means it provides strength to the cell. Then vacuoles store amino acid, sugar, various organic acids and some other proteins also. In single cell organisms like amoeba, what happens? There are the vacuole, they contain the food item which are consumed by the cells, because the body of the amoeba is made up of one cell only. So when amoeba takes food with the help of cell membrane, which is also called phagocytosis, we will discuss it further. So when it consumes that food is stored inside the vacuoles. In single-celled organisms, vacuoles help in expelling excess water and some waste from the cells also. So these are the functions of the vacuole. What is the function? Main function, vacuoles generally store food. They are also provide rigidity and turgidity to the plant cell. In single-celled organism, they contain food and also contain the waste material and excess water. So that's it. Now our next topic is a very important question can be asked. How does the movement of substance takes place into the cell? As you have studied earlier that the plasma membrane is also called the selectively permeable membrane. It means it allows some particles or some material to pass through it, whereas it does not allow the other materials to pass through it. Now, how do these substances or particles move across the membrane? So there are two main processes. The first process is called diffusion, as you can see over here, diffusion. Now what do you mean by diffusion? Some substances like CO2 and oxygen, carbon dioxide and oxygen, they move across the cell membrane by a process called diffusion. You all know that each and every living cell, it breathes. It breathes means it respires, it inhales the oxygen and throws out the carbon dioxide. Now it uses the oxygen to perform various life functions, and in that process CO2 is produced. That CO2 is a kind of waste, so it has to remove that CO2 outside the cell. So the oxygen concentration is always higher on the outside of the cell, because whatever oxygen enters inside the cell, it is used, and CO2 is being produced at every movement. It means always CO2 concentration is higher inside the cell. So what will happen? Diffusion will take place. Now what is diffusion? The movement of gaseous particles from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is called diffusion. Now let us understand diffusion over here. Suppose this is a room. and this room is having various particles. Suppose you spray a perfume at one corner of the room, so these particles will be dispersed over here. Now what will happen? Will you be able to smell the perfume particles only at this corner, or after a few seconds the perfume will spread into the whole room and each and every student sitting in this room can smell that? Yes, after a few seconds each and every student will be able to smell these perfume particles. Now how they spread into the whole room? Earlier the concentration of the particles was higher over here, and there are no particles present over here. It means the concentration of these particles is quite low over here. So what they will do, they will travel from here to here, and they will travel until and unless they are equally spread in the whole room. It means they have traveled from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration until the concentration will become equal in the whole room, and this process is called diffusion. Similarly, the same thing happens inside the cell. The CO2 concentration is higher inside the cell and the oxygen concentration is higher outside the cell. So what will happen? The CO2 particles will move from inside to outside, and the O2 particles will move from outside to inside the cell, and this is called diffusion. Let me explain this to you with the help of a diagram. Suppose this is a vessel. This vessel is filled with water. If we put an animal cell into it, now where will be the concentration of water higher? Outside the cell or inside the cell? It will be higher outside the cell, because this water which we have taken over here is pure water or distilled water. It means it has no other soluble things in it. Whereas the water which will be present in the cytoplasm will have many other materials, other substances also. So the water concentration is higher over here, and the water concentration inside the cell is lower. Here it is higher. So what will happen? Through the process of osmosis, the water will move from higher concentration to lower concentration, and through a semi-permeable membrane. As you have read earlier, the plasma membrane or the outer membrane, cell membrane of the cell is a semi-permeable membrane. Semi-permeable membrane. So this process is called osmosis. The movement of water particles from higher concentration of the water to the lower concentration of water through a semi-permeable membrane is called osmosis. So if somebody asks you how does water move inside and outside the cell, it will move through the process of osmosis. Now you will say the water is moving here inside the cell, how it will move outside? Sometimes the cell is present in such an environment where the concentration of water is lower outside. We will discuss it further. It is lower outside, whereas inside the cell it is higher. Now what will happen? The water will move from higher concentration to lower concentration. It means the water will move from inside the cell to outside the cell through this semi-permeable membrane, and this is also called osmosis. So water moves inside the cell as well as outside the cell through the process of osmosis. Now very important thing beta, when the water will enter inside the cell, what will happen? When the water will enter inside the cell will swell up. It will swell, and it can also burst sometimes. But in the opposite case, what will happen? When the water will move out of the cell will shrink. So these two things happen when the osmosis occurs. Now let us look at the difference between diffusion and osmosis. Diffusion occurs in any medium, whereas it occurs only in the liquid medium. It does not require any membrane, whereas it requires the semi-permeable membrane. Then you can also say any particles can move over here, but here only the water particles moves through the semi-permeable membrane. Now students, these three solutions, we will discuss them in detail in the biology lab with the help of an experiment, so that you will be able to understand them properly. And now the last topic of our chapter, which is also very important topic, that is prokaryotic cell and eukaryotic cell. As we have discussed earlier, that on the basis of the number of cells, the organism is of two types, unicellular as well as multicellular. The organism which are whose body is made up of only one cell are called unicellular, whereas those whose body is made up of more than one cell, they are called multicellular. Now these cells can be of two types. One is prokaryotic and another one is eukaryotic. Now what are the differences between them? The prokaryotic cell are generally smaller in size, that is 1 to 10 micrometer or micron, whereas the eukaryotic cells are generally larger in size. Then in prokaryotic cells, the nucleus is not bounded by the nuclear membrane, that is, it is called nucleoid. That is, the nucleus, outside the nucleus, as we have discussed in the structure of nucleus, that nucleus has a double membrane. So in prokaryotic cells, the nucleus which these cells are having, that is not bounded by the nuclear membrane, that is, the nuclear material, that is the DNA, is present inside the cytoplasm only, just like this. The DNA is present in the form of chromatin material, and then the nucleoplasm is present over here, but the membranes are not present. These membranes are not present. These material are present inside the cytoplasm only. Now that is why this nucleus is a very primitive type of nucleus, and that is why these cells are called prokaryotic cells. What do you mean by pro? Pro means primitive, karyotic means nucleus. So prokaryotic cell, it means that cell which has primitive type of nucleus. Similarly, eukaryotic cell has a very true nucleus, and it is present, it means it is bounded by the nuclear membrane. Now what do you mean by true nucleus? That nucleus which has DNA present in the chromatin material, and this chromatin material is covered by a double membrane. So this is the true nucleus. That is why these cells are called eukaryotic cells. Eu means modern or new, karyo means nucleus. So new type of nucleus is present in these cells. That is why these cells are called eukaryotic cells. Primitive type of nucleus is present in these cells. That is why they are called prokaryotic cells. The next important difference is these cells contain single chromosome. A single chromosome is thread-like chromosome is present over here, whereas the eukaryotic cell contain more than one chromosome. Then the next difference is membrane-bound cell organelles are absent over here. It means the cell organelles are absent in prokaryotic cell. It means the cell has a plasma membrane, cytoplasm, some ribosomes, and a nucleoid. Whereas membrane-bound organelles are present over here. It means this type of eukaryotic cell has cell membrane, nucleus, various other organelles, mitochondria, Golgi bodies, and lysosomes, vacuoles, plastids, everything. Then comes nucleolus is absent over here. Nucleolus. So what is nucleolus? Nucleolus is a small round structure which helps in cell division, which is present inside the nucleus. So this is absent in the where? In the prokaryotic cell, whereas in the eukaryotic cell it is present. So here we are done with the differences between eukaryotic cell and prokaryotic cell. So students, I believe that you all have understood the chapter clearly. If you have any doubts, please watch the video again, and if you are still having doubts, you can contact me anytime. All the best. Thank you.